is there a system or a way of teaching to calibrate our temperament to match the prophetic temperament?
Excellent. I mean, yes, I know it's going to sound really simple, but it's not. When we study, for example, the Shama'il, when we go through, Qadi Iyad's Ashifa, and you're looking at these descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ, which, we have so much detail about everything from the way he walked and talked, how he dressed, how he spoke to people of different backgrounds. The level of detail we have about his life, as we know, alhamdulillah, is such a gift. But the point of all of that is really to take those mental notes. Where are you on the spectrum of how close you are to his model, like his behavior? If he smiled and he was gentle and he was kind and compassionate, but you're a person who those are not qualities that people would describe you as. And some of us have to be honest with ourselves. There are people amongst us who might have beautiful hearts, but their physical presentation doesn't reflect that because they haven't overcome their whatever it is, whether it's, this is just the way they were raised, their cultures, but we kind of get fixed into certain behaviors because it's just what I've always been like. Well, okay, but the Prophet ﷺ is the model. So you, like everybody, has to start working towards that goal. So maybe you need to smile a little bit more. Maybe you need to come out of the intense choleric or intense melancholic temperament, right? Which are on the extremes. They're intense for that reason. And you need to bring that intensity down. So that means being a little bit more lighthearted, being a little bit more, not as rigid about following the rules and harping on every little detail, being overly pedantic. Don't do that. How about letting things go a little bit, being a little bit more flexible and cheery and welcoming people. So there's ways when we look at his life that we can analyze our own behavior with, and then just start making those slow changes. And it's going to be a lifelong process. So this doesn't have to happen overnight. And that's why acquiring beautiful character is a lifelong pursuit. We all have to be doing it all the time at different, again, stages.
Oh, subhanallah. That makes me realize that the importance of reflection. Like you can't just, be walking or like, you're being busy in your day and be like, oh yeah, I should smile more. And then just get back to it. Right. It can't be a passing thought, right? Like you must sit down and like think about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Intentionality. Yeah, no, I love that. You're right. You have to be intentional and you have to be doing it for the sake of Allah. And you have to kind of say, well, I'm really far from his example and Allah wants us to be like him. And so even though this is how I've always been, I'm 35, I'm 23, I'm 43, whatever it is, I need to just at least try, because in the effort of overcoming your rigidity to try to emulate the Prophet ﷺ is so much reward that you're missing out on. When you're struggling to do something that's not second nature to you at all, and it's really hard for you, but you're doing it because you want to be more like the Prophet ﷺ, you're just opening up mountains of reward for yourself. And likewise, if you don't do it because you're like, I'm, set in my ways, and you're also cutting yourself off from easy rewards. And in terms of, the other layer to this, because these are kind of like personal objectives, but the other thing that I think we really need to remember is dawah. For those of us in the West, we are supposed to be doing dawah. What kind of dawah are we doing if we're not at least approachable? And some temperaments are less approachable than others. And so that's why, for the sake of dawah, we also have to work on really bringing more balance. Because if you're not, again, very approachable and people don't feel like they can come and talk to you because you're so quiet and you're so reserved. And this is a challenge in the modern world too, because these devices have created a barrier for people that we've gotten very comfortable with, right? It's like, oh, you get into an elevator, you get into a subway, you go into a public place, everybody's on their phone because nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to interact with other people. That's not doing dawah. So we have to also factor in the collective responsibility we all have as Muslims living in a non-Muslim, majority land, of doing our dawah through overcoming our rigid qualities and our temperaments.